Hey there, USC Progressive Christian Students. Reverend Jim Burklo here, retired Senior Associate Dean of Religious and Spiritual Life at USC, currently the Executive Director of Zoe, a national network of progressive Christian campus ministries like yours. I hope all goes well for you each and all as you come back to campus for this academic year. Eager to have you come back to Ojai for another retreat. I thought I'd share some hopes and thoughts with you as classes are about to begin. This academic year will no doubt be eventful. First of all, it's my prayerful hope that you'll stick together as friends in faith this year and hold each other close, share meals, play, laugh, and contemplate together, going deep and growing in spiritual consciousness. In my background is the Little Chapel of Silence at USC, a place to sit in quiet and look within with the inner eyes of God, who is divine love, accepting you just as you are in whatever shape you're in. I still glow from the many hours I spent in there. You will need caring, loving friends, and you're going to need spiritual grounding more than ever, given the crisis that is unfolding on campuses all around the country today. The biblical prophet Micah asked, "What does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and walk humbly with your God?" How can you walk that walk on campus this year? The Trump administration is mounting a culture war against higher education in America. It is a war against facts, which are inconvenient for authoritarian regimes. USC expects that it's going to lose $300 million annually in funds for research on its campuses. A mass layoff of faculty and staff is likely any day now. We've already seen Trump decimate research and use the threat of withholding financial aid to force colleges to abandon diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in ethnic and cultural centers. But Trump's people are not stopping there. They want ideological control of public and private universities. They want to control the curriculum. They want far right-wing dogma taught in classes. They say they want free speech on campus, but that's straight out of George Orwell's famous 1984 novel. It's doublespeak for the opposite. They aim to end free speech on campus, which my generation fought very hard to get. They are punishing any university or college that allows students to repeat the message that the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert, a loyal Jewish Israeli, is saying, that Israel is committing war crimes against the civilian population of Gaza. This is just for starters. We can count on Trump trying to do the same thing against any student speech that he decides is un-American. Now, neither you nor I signed up for having to deal with this mess, but here we are. And so I am at your service as you consider how you want to do justice and take action against this perverse and, I dare say, unchristian agenda. First of all, stay aware that your voice matters uniquely. Very many secular colleges and universities in the United States were created by those whom we'd now call progressive Christians. And USC is a great example. It was founded by Methodists who realized that the best way to advance the goals of Methodism in higher education was for the university to be independent of the church. So we have a stake in this struggle, and we have a unique voice to add to the resistance. Nearly all the Christian clubs on campus teach that the earth was created in 6 24-hour days, in total contradiction to what is taught in USC's biology and earth science courses. Yours is the lone voice of Christian witness in defense of independent, secular higher education with shared governance by faculty, with tenure protections, and real free speech for students and staff. The Trump administration is loaded with high-level officials who are all in for the Seven Mountains Mandate, a Christian crusade for fundamentalist domination of all spheres of culture, especially higher education. They have no respect for the Constitution's rule against the government establishing and imposing a particular religion for the people. On campus, you are the Christian alternative to that perspective. You have protected student club status, you have professional staff and church support, so you are uniquely able to offer programs on campus that the university will be pressured to abandon. You are free to host speakers, events, vigils, and programs on campus that may be suppressed in other quarters. I pray that you will be happy, joyful, positive, spiritually grounded activists on campus to the degree that you have time and energy to do so. You can be powerful allies. As you know, this is a tough time for queer people in America. You can be visible public allies for queer students on campus, and here's how. Meet with the folks at the LGBTQI plus Center and also with student orgs on campus and urge them to conduct a survey of all religious clubs on campus, asking two questions. Does your student organization and its sponsoring organization affirm LGBTQI plus relationships and same-sex marriage? And number two, does your organization allow students of all gender identities and sexual orientations to be in leadership? Groups that answer yes to both questions are fully affirming of LGBTQI plus students. And once they get responses, work with the queer groups to get the results of the survey published in the Daily Trojan. You will be one of the very few Christian clubs that is fully affirming. Best allyship you can offer, also very good advertising for your club and recruiting new members. Seek out student activists working on justice and peace issues on campus. Get to know them personally. Let them know you're their partners. Show up for their events and actions. Bring your signs and your swag along so that folks know that you're there. Be role models in constructive, nonviolent speech and action. Seek out and form relationships with the professors and the staff members on campus who are active in resisting the Trump agenda. They need your support. Learn the basics of nonviolent direct action. Be leaders in peaceful, respectful protest. And be aware of how easy it is for protest actions to backfire and hurt the cause you aim to help. Who is the audience for your activism? How can you be persuasive rather than turning off the people you want to positively influence? What rhetoric, what kind of messaging, what kind of visuals will be the most persuasive and impactful? I was an activist in the 60s and 70s, and we made a lot of serious mistakes, and one that I regret a lot is that we abandoned the United States flag. So I urge you to take it back and wave the U.S. flag along with your signs and banners, because you who defend free speech and democracy and human rights and facts and compassion, you are the real American patriots. My generation of activists alienated a lot of people unnecessarily. We made a lot of noise, but we also turned off a lot of Americans who saw us as disrespectful, unpatriotic, and lawless. What was our reward? The election of Richard Nixon, a reactionary who promised voters law and order. Protest is good for getting us energized, realizing we're not alone, and motivating us to take action for the long haul. But we must make sure we do it in a way that is not alienating toward the persuadable people that we'd like to come alongside us. And there are a lot of persuadable people who voted for Trump, but today aren't really with his program. On campus, I think the most important task of students will be to inspire the university administration to get a spine and to refuse the outrageous demands of the Trump administration. Students have a great deal of potential power over USC's reputation, which university leaders and trustees are petrified of losing. Does USC want to be known for caving in to Trump? And does USC want it to be known that a bunch of its trustees are supporters of Trump who just cost the university $300 million in research cuts? I advise you to use your power. You have a lot more of it than you might think, but use it thoughtfully and strategically, considering all the possible consequences of your actions. As Jesus said in the Gospel of Luke, for which of you intending to build a tower does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether he or she has enough to complete it? The Gaza protest encampment at USC generated a lot of attention, but we get to ask now what it achieved. One of the most effective things we did in the 60s was to hold teach-ins on campuses, to educate each other about the war in Vietnam and what led up to it. These teach-ins were much more impactful than our sit-in protests in university offices making demands of administrators that were often quite unrealistic. Because a lot of students in my day had little idea about the history that led up to the terrible war in Vietnam. And today, the fact is that very few students, even at an elite school like ours, really know much about the history that led up to the atrocities against Israelis on October 7th and to the starving of civilians in Gaza today. Those students are voters and will be voters for decades to come. So USC students can organize teach-ins where they invite professors and other experts to come to campus and share with students the facts about what is happening today and the facts of the history that led up to it. Imagine Progressive Christian students sponsoring such a teaching. I share all of this because in my 14 years at USC, I observed that it took students all 4 years to learn how the university works, how decisions are made, who makes them, where the levers of power are and where they aren't. And by the time they'd figured all that out, they had graduated and left. So any way that I can steepen that learning curve for you, I am down for doing. So please have fun this semester. Have a joyful time together in your fellowship. Play and sing and pray. And share wonderful meals together. And do what you can when you can to do justice and love kindness and walk humbly with your God at USC. Amen.